What is up, Jabronis? JJ back here with Mr. Boynton talking little college basketball. Saturday, February the 19th. I actually had to check the date. I'm not at the point in my life where I consistently remember dates. I don't know how you handle those types of things, Stevie, but I'm not there. And it's early on a Saturday. Early for some. I know you're not exactly an early bird, but you're an early bird on Saturdays, right?
Yeah, gotta be. Yeah, as far as dates, I know it's somewhere between Valentine's Day and March Madness. That's about it. This couple week stretch is a grind, but it's all preparing us for the big part of the year at college basketball, just getting ready. So, but yeah, no, definitely not an early bird. But on Saturdays, yes. Sundays, not so much.
Yeah, so it was nice for me to get a few, as you called them, rocking chair wins the last few nights, especially on the tube here. With the one over and the one under, really wire to wire. I will say this, though, Stevie, I'll feel better when I start winning some of these 60-40s late or even 50-50s late. Man, I've had so many late that have been like, you almost feel like you can turn the game off and they've lost. So be interested today with a few bets as well to see if I can finally get over that little hump. But again, time will tell. But how's your week been?
That's been up and down. I had a poor day on Wednesday, but bounced back with a 3-0 Thursday. So didn't have any bets last night because I was prepping. I did the live DFS show last night for the slate today. So I'm actually feeling really good about a couple spots today. I've got a handful of bets on the card.
Love it. So let's get right into it. So we'll start with your first play. I know you mentioned Iowa State for a bit, so maybe you start there or wherever you want to go. What's your first one you like today?
Yeah, so Iowa State, current line I'm seeing is -1.5 here at home against Oklahoma. Oklahoma started the year real hot. They're 14-12 now, kind of folding down the stretch. They've lost 5 of 6, 9 of their last 11. And the big news here is they just lost Elijah Harkless for the season. I think kind of their offensive cog at guard, and he's playing 35 plus minutes a game. The big matchup here, especially with Harkless out, Oklahoma turns it over a ton. They're 333rd in offensive turnover percentage, and going on the road to Iowa State's a tough task, man. Iowa State forces a ton of turnovers. They're 5th in defensive turnover percentage and 1st in the Big 12. So that kind of aligns there for Iowa State. I think they get more easy possessions than usual because of the matchup. Oklahoma's defense started the year really, really good, but they've gotten blasted in league play. They're 10th out of 10 in the Big 12 in 3-point percentage defense and 9th out of 10 in 2-point percentage defense in conference. We're kind of seeing them go the wrong way. They're now a bubble team, where just a couple weeks ago, we were looking at them as, like a 5-6 seed. Their computer numbers are still good just because of the early season wins. But the reality is that they have one road win since Thanksgiving, JJ, when they shot 60% from the field at West Virginia. I'll be back in Iowa State's ferocious turnover defense here at home under a possession.
Love it. And I think that it makes a ton of sense, right? A team that already was turning the ball over a ton, and now they're missing a key guard for them. It should result in a decent spot for Iowa State. So I like to spot that at that small number. So I'm going to slide over to East Tennessee State and the Citadel. These are teams. So to be honest, believe it or not, Stevie, Citadel is a team I usually bet on a lot of their games year in and year out. I just feel like they're a very easy team to project, or most often able to project, with their pace, with their threes. This spot to me, though, at this total is kind of wild to me, wildly low. So 151.5 FanDuel. I like it over. Look, what do we know about East Tennessee State, right? This is a team that has an extremely efficient offense and a terrible defense. Yes, they play slow, but they're very content to speed things up when that presents itself. And I know they played against Citadel earlier in the year, and I know that it totaled out at 148. Let's be honest. These teams did not shoot very well at all in those games, or in that game, specifically East Tennessee State. I look at a game where you have two teams coming off terrible offensive performances. East Tennessee State has had to, bad losses. They've lost I think 7 of 8 games. And the first of that little losing stretch started with the Citadel. I think here, even though they're on the road, Citadel is going to set the pace for this game. It's going to play fast. And yes, these teams don't get to the free throw line, which is a little scary when you consider a total this high. But this game should really play like a blaze. And let's be honest, if you told me, Stevie, threes fall at 35% in this game, I think this gets over, with 2 minutes left. I think the way this doesn't get over is if if they shoot, collectively the 3 ball like 25, 30%, because these teams are going to be hoisting them. They're going to get good looks, and they have tons of guys that shoot them well. You look at this game from a matchup perspective, 2 teams that play absolutely horrific defense, 2 teams that play great offense. And overall, I think a lot of people might be looking at the previous game where it's stuck at 148. For why this is total starting to see some steam down, and also their recent performances, right? Citadel just had a terrible shooting performance against Wofford, which I guess could make sense. Wofford plays pretty good defense. They play really slow. That is not what they're going to get here from East Tennessee State. East Tennessee State's having a down year as it is. I actually, believe it or not, I do like Citadel in the spot to grab the win. But again, they're a little too much sometimes with their pace and how frantic they can play. And I think East Tennessee State will be able to take advantage of that on the offensive end. So overall, yeah, I like this over 151.5. It's a FanDuel minus 114. What are your thoughts? You ever flirt with that with this conference, Stevie?
Not as much, but I do know the Citadel plays fast and chucks it, right? 50.5% of their shots on the season have been threes. That's 4th in all of college basketball. ETSU with a new coach hasn't really figured it out defensively yet. I see they're 300th in adjusted defensive efficiency on this season. And they force teams to shoot just a ton of threes, 7th highest in all of college basketball. So yeah, both teams are in the top 100 in 3-point percentage. We're going to see a ton of attempts here. If threes fall, I do like that over. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. And I think before I go into another play from you, Stevie, if you have one, I do want to briefly talk on our favorite school, the Hoyas. Okay. Georgetown, you know what the sad part is? If you're like a recreational bettor, right, and you're going up and down the board, you might be like, wow, Georgetown's getting 21. It's 20. It was 21 yesterday. Wow, Georgetown's getting 20 or 21. Yeah, why not? I'll take a chance on Georgetown. And they covered today. If they do, with all the money I've lost on them over the last 2 to 3 weeks, that would be such a shame. But what's your thoughts on that? Because in reality, this is the perfect, holy shit, overreaction moment for a team like Georgetown. But I'd go as far to say that, even though they're playing Nova, I'd go as far to say that there has been the overreaction moment with Georgetown for 3 weeks now with these lines. So is it just can this team consistently just not cover spreads and it's really the second half where this team just consistently implodes? But what's your take on what's going on with this team? Because you watch them play and they have talented guys. It just seems like no matter who they play, there is somebody that absolutely lights them up from 3. So what's your thought?
They're just so awful defensively everywhere on the court, which is real tough. I mean, like you said, they're consistently giving up just huge runs, and since they can't score inside the arc, it makes it really tough for them to go on runs of their own. They're 351st in 2-point field goal percentage. I mean, that is just awful. So yeah, it's a team that's reliant on making threes, and you've got one guy on the team shooting 40% from 3, and then your other guys who are playing 35 plus minutes are shooting 33% and 23% from 3. So yeah, it's just they go through lulls every game where they can't score, and this is a team that just can never get a stop. So things snowball on them faster than most teams because of that, and they play at a top 30 pace. So they're playing fast, they're giving up buckets. So you can see how it gets out of hand with them. 20 points is a lot for Nova to lay just because they're going to deliberately play as slow as possible. But they're such a great shot-making team that I don't really have a play on this one. It would terrify me to lay 20, but it would also terrify me to bet on Georgetown at this point with the way their defense is going.
Let me tell you, on the Nova end, you see the team total 82.5. We talked about how efficient Villanova's offense is and how Georgetown's going to speed them up. The problem is I do believe you're getting a correlated you're getting that correlated line move or steam move based on Georgetown's performances over the last few weeks, right? Because if Georgetown held their own in a few of these games over the last few weeks, this spread's not 20. So because the spread's 20, it's created this adjusted line for Nova. I will say this, though. Georgetown's total at 62.5 does seem like really targetable. Like instead of like taking them plus the 20, I could see a world where they get 63 and lose, 85 to 63. No, I mean, is that crazy?
I could see it. They're just so reliant on threes, and Nova does control pace better at home. Their last 4 home games, 58 possessions, 63 possessions against St. John's, 67 and 61 possessions. So the games that you see Nova get paced up, so the last 3 road games, 71 possessions, 77 possessions, 72 possessions. At home, it's really tough to, like, I'm going back even further. Home, 61 possessions, 58, 59. I think the highest possessions at home on the season is like 66 or something in conference. So you're relying on efficiency. I do get that from Nova, but it's tough for me to back efficiency with Georgetown given the way they've played this year. At some point too, you're 0-14 in conference. Does Ewing shake up the rotation? Do guys quit? I mean, this season's over for him. It might be over for Ewing. I don't know. It's a weird spot, because it is Georgetown, right? And they've just been so bad.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think of that? I guess real quick before we jump into another game, what do you think of that? I mean, Ewing has seemed like a good coach there in terms of maybe not on a recruiting level. They haven't had like any like premier talent there during his tenure. I don't consider them having that, but they have that collective guys that can shoot the ball well, that can score. They do seem to move the ball pretty well, and obviously their pace is frantic. What do you think is going on this year for why? And this all seemed to have kind of unraveled over the last 3 to 4 weeks too. So, do you think it's the team? Because this is like turmoil at a whole nother level for a school like Georgetown.
Yeah, well, he did bring in Aminu Muhammad, who is a 5-star recruit this season. But so he's been there 5 years now. They've made the tournament once, and that was last year when they had like the miracle run through the Big East tournament. Without that run, this would be the 5th year out of 5 that he hasn't made the tournament. He's had one winning season, I think, in 18 or 19. They won like 19 or 20 games. He's just not getting it done. I just don't think that Georgetown is going to fire Patrick Ewing. I think this is going to be, Pat, do you really want to keep doing this? He showed that he's been a competent assistant coach at the pro level. Sometimes it just doesn't work with guys, especially with ex-players. So I don't think that they'll fire him, but I think that he might step down after the season, given the way that thing's gone. And, he's going to lose Donald Carey. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
It is a shame all around.
Yeah.
And like I said, you hope for better days for them and the program overall, because it's kind of wild to see them perform this poorly, especially with some of the guys they have. Stevie, you got one more play you like, whether it's a player prop or a bet you're waiting on a target live, and then I'll go into the final bet I'm going to give out.
Yeah, so my second one here is Ohio State first half. Got it at -2.5. They are hosting Iowa. We've been targeting opponents against Iowa in the first half for a while here. Iowa, of course, coached by Fran McCaffrey, notorious auto bencher JJ, and Iowa's basically got one guy. They've got Keegan Murray, who's an All-American, like a 30% usage rate. If he's not on or if he fouls, Iowa's going to really struggle. But we'll come back to that. Iowa's top 40 in pace and outside the top 100 in defensive efficiency. They're coming off that Thursday night home loss to Michigan. I kind of wished that they had won that game for this spot, but Iowa really struggles to defend, especially in the paint. They're 200th in defensive 2-point percentage, bottom 2 in the Big Ten, going up against Zed Key, EJ Liddell, and the strength of the Ohio State team is really in the front court, not their guards. Ohio State 8th in offensive efficiency. I think they pretty much score at will here. Ohio State hasn't lost at home all season. Ohio State's defensive strength is inside, where Keegan Murray does most of his work. And Ohio State can throw multiple bigs at him. They got Liddell, Zed Key, Kyle Young has been a good defender his entire career. Not to stop him, but just to slow him down. And as I mentioned earlier, the added bonus anytime you fade Iowa in the first half is Fran McCaffrey is just a donkey. And, if it's 90 seconds into the game or 90 seconds left in the half, if Keegan Murray picks up 2 fouls, he's going to sit the rest of the half. So you get that added bonus kind of baked in here in a tough road environment where, we see elevated foul rates, especially for interior big men on the road in conference play all the time. I love Ohio State at home here. I didn't want to lay, like the 5.5 or 6 for the full game. So I'll keep with the first half fade of Iowa. It worked on Wednesday or Thursday with Michigan, and I'll go back here with Ohio State first half -2.5.
Love it, and I love the detailed breakdown as well. Obviously first half's can be a little more volatile in terms of some variance, but there are some trends and some tells that you can kind of see how certain teams play early on in games, and sometimes it's kind of the data is hard to ignore, right? It's kind of like Georgetown second halves. Like if you've been betting during this stretch, if you've been betting Georgetown first halves, I think you've been basically 500. But if you've been betting Georgetown full games, you're 0-13 against the spread. You're 0-12 against the spread over their last 12 games. So I do think there's definitely some value in hitting first halves. And I'm a big first half total guy. I prefer it, so I don't have to worry about whether there's going to be a foul fest late or not with that extra 8 to 10 points that get added to second halves. So yeah, no, I like the look. All right. So last play here for me, I'm going to stick to the MAC with the 2 A's. So Canisius and Niagara, two fun schools upstate. Well, at least Canisius is way up there. Niagara's a little up there. So for me, this is a good spot for Niagara. I know that Niagara beat this team earlier in the year, and this is normally not a spot I target. I don't normally like to target a team that travels on the road after they beat a team at home in conference play. I just think this team is so much better than Canisius. So look, when you look at how the first game played out, Niagara had a ton of easy looks underneath, which isn't like if Canisius is good at one thing, it's actually good at guarding inside. The 3 ball though. Guarding the 3 ball, Niagara had a ton of help, a ton of easy looks inside. And even the 3 ball, Niagara didn't shoot that well from 3, still did, good enough to win by 10. And overall, I just feel like Niagara in this spot. So maybe it's because I'm bullish on them and bearish on Canisius. So I have this line actually 4. So the fact that it's 1.5 to me is just such an easy play. When you just look at these two from a matchup perspective, Niagara should get to the free throw line a decent amount. Canisius is just so bad on offense and defense. Like at least Niagara plays decent defense. Niagara plays decent offense. Like Niagara does both better. Look, where does the struggle in this game really lie? On the offensive glass. So, Canisius has an advantage on the offensive glass, and Niagara is very likely to be one and done. But Niagara doesn't turn the ball over, which helps. I just you look at these numbers on these teams, and these two teams shouldn't be as close as they are, record-wise, rank-wise, conference-wise. Niagara's just a better school. They're a better program, at least this year anyway. And I look at the small number as almost like a gift in this spot. Yeah, sure, of course, Niagara could lose outright, but to me, I'd actually lay all the way up to 3 in this spot. To me, I just like I said, all you can do in these spots, especially with these little conferences, is you watch back the games that they play, and you see how the games flowed, and you try to project how that'll happen the next time around. If a lot of this is similar, the sets Niagara was running and getting so many easy looks underneath, which was literally feeding into the biggest weakness that Canisius has. So love the spot. And I know it's a small number, and I know the game. I think it's going to be on ESPN Plus if you guys need to watch the games you bet. But yeah, Niagara -1.5 versus Canisius. Obviously, if you're in New York, you're not going to be able to bet it. But if you're anywhere else, you'll be able to bet it because most of these teams are in New York. And that is -114. That was FanDuel. All right, so Stevie, I know we normally have our guy Gavin pop in to give a prop or two, and we could talk on it. Without him on the DFS end, who are some guys you're high on, and maybe who are some props worth targeting based off of that?
Yeah, Gavin did text me a prop. He's got Zed Key over 9 points. He's a guy that I just talked about in the Ohio State game. So that kind of correlates with my bet as well. He's an interior big, going to get easy looks with the weak Iowa interior. He's a great DFS play too. So
where is that available? I don't
I'm
see
not
it.
sure where he bet it.
Yeah, I don't see
I
it.
was going to bet it after the show. He texted me during the show, so not sure there. But on the DFS side, we have a pretty unique slate here, where the mid range is kind of gross, and we've got some serious studs on the slate. You've got Oscar Shibwe at home against a Bama team that has gotten slaughtered by athletic bigs all season. You get EJ Liddell in the matchup that I just rambled on about with Ohio State against Iowa. Keegan Murray in that same matchup, and a little riskier on the road because of the foul risk and the auto bench, but has just been an absolute stud lately. Alondas Williams is on the slate, Colin Castleton, Walker Kessler, Kofi Coburn. This is just a banger early slate, 12 games. So I think the route that you want to go here is trying to get at least two of these guys into your lineup. Louisville, with the interim coach, has kind of condensed their rotation lately, and I think this is how we're going to afford these studs. So just a DFS tip here for today. I think studs mixed in with one or two of the cheap Louisville guys is a good route to start with.
Let me ask you this. So Alondas Williams obviously going to get a degrade in pace today. The total at 19.5 makes sense, right? It's basically him right down the middle, right around his season average as well. Do you see any matchup exploit advantage for him? Obviously, he was in foul trouble in the Duke game, so it limited his minutes. Normally, the Duke plays the entire game. The number seems somewhat fair, but I'd argue advantage in favor of the over. But does the pace worry you with him trying to get to 20?
The pace doesn't worry me as much. I think that Wake can pace up Notre Dame on the road. They've shown willingness to run in games. I think you said the numbers at 19.5. I have him for just under 19. So the projection, is fair. But I mean, it's a big number. But he is at home. I do like him in DFS as like a contrarian guy, but that's more of just because he's so solid peripherally. I mean, I think he's the ACC player of the year right now.
He's got some boss numbers. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, on the season, he's got nearly a 20% rebound rate, 34% assist rate. Just gives his floor in DFS is just so high, because he's going to play 37 plus a game, especially if the Irish can keep this close. I do think that Wake plays well here. I do like that line. And I think Notre Dame's kind of been playing over their skis a bit too. So, I haven't bet any player props yet. 19.5 is steep and the projection is just under it. But, I'm not betting against Alondas this season. He's proved people wrong the entire year. So, just an awesome season he's had as a transfer from OU, where he was kind of like a role player there. So awesome to see him playing so well.
I guess the good part with this game in general is, especially if you think those going to be points, because as you mentioned, Notre Dame's going to get sped up here, and Notre Dame has like no bench. I mean, they don't. They basically play the same guys for.
No, they play 6 guys. Yeah.
So with all the extra court time, the added benefit of pace, any value on any of the Notre Dame guys to get over their numbers? Hey, Stevie, I think you're muted.
Oh, sorry. I did that last night too. Nate Laszewski came back 2 games ago. He's kind of like their stretch big. His minutes popped up to, I think, 29 last game in the overtime game. I think he pushes 30 here. He might even start. If he starts, I think that he regains the role that he had before the injury. Before he was hurt, he was playing low to mid 30 minutes a game. Stretch big in a pace up spot. I like him for a DFS today. He's pretty cheap. And, I think he scored, he threatens 10 points here, probably 6 or 7 rebounds. I don't know what his numbers are, but the algorithms might be behind on his role being back to what it was pre-injury, which is kind of the spots that I like to look at for player props is, when you're projecting something, a role change, something of the like where maybe just the default projection isn't fully baking that in.
Yeah, I like it. I think the sad part is I don't see him on any of the markets. It could be because, like you said, he's still kind of getting rotated in. But now he, obviously, they had the good overtime game, and he ate a lot of minutes as well. So, if a number pops, I'll definitely be on it. So appreciate that. But yeah, I guess other than that, Steve, any final notes in relation to the slate, and then we'll kind of wrap it up.
Yeah, one more that I'm looking at. I won't break it down. Being a Virginia Tech grad, UNC has just routinely pounded us. Huge game for both teams. I saw UNC getting 5 last night. They can win this game outright. They've been too athletic for Tech for the last couple seasons. I would love for my Hokies to win this game because I think it kind of pushes us towards the bubble there. But I'll probably be on the UNC side here, and not just as the old emotional hedge.
Yeah, no, love it. Love it. All right, look, that's another one in the books. Thanks for popping in. Obviously, the chat. Thanks for being lively. We gave you 4 bets. If you, I guess, quickly to recap, Boynton's on Iowa State minus the 1.5, and on Ohio State first half minus 2.5. I'm on the over 151.5 with Citadel, East Tennessee State, and Niagara minus 1.5, minus 114. FanDuel. That's 4 picks from us. Obviously, we talked on a few other things, including DFS with Boynton. So other than that, as always, folks, stay safe, gamble responsibly. Yes, it's a fun-filled college basketball Saturday, but don't, allow yourself to get completely fisted, at least mentally. Bet within your means. That is different per individual. But yes, as always, folks, thanks for tuning in. And I'll be back tomorrow with Holden, running through some more college basketball. So yes, for those that missed Holden, the one person that maybe missed Holden, you will be seeing him back tomorrow around the same time. We'll probably do it actually at 11, but I'll let you guys know on Twitter. But yes, thanks as always. Stay safe and gamble responsibly, folks. And always run pure. We'll see you next week.